Welcome to part 2 of our small group leader training class. We've been talking about 3 of the most important components of a small group, and that's what happens before the group, what happens during the group, and what happens after the group. For the next few minutes, we're going to take some time to focus on what happens during the group. And some might say this is the most important part of the group is what happens during it. And I might say, yeah, that very well may be true, because this is the moment where you're actually having people, your members are coming to the group. And so you have real people with real experiences standing in front of you, with real lives who need a real difference to happen in their lives. And so I want to help you lead these moments as most effectively as you can. And I want to start by saying that as a small group leader, your job is not to teach. Now, yes, people are going to learn from you, but a small group leader does not necessarily mean that you're a teacher. And so whether or not you have teaching skills or not, this might actually be exactly what you needed to hear. It's okay to not have all the answers. Good leaders don't have all the answers, but they do know how to find those answers. And sometimes those answers are just locked up in the people around them at the table. And so a small group leader really needs to be more than a leader. They need to be a facilitator. They need to be able to facilitate conversations. Leaders are learners. And in order to learn, you have to be able to ask questions. A lot of times we try to lead people and we don't even know what's going on in their lives. We just assume that, man, our experiences are the most important ones, and what we've learned, our education or our position and titles, that those entitle us to be more positioned to teach people. And that couldn't be further from the truth sometimes. Yes, you have a story and you might have a great teaching gift, but small groups are a place for people to grow together, not just for lecturers and teachers to deliver information. And so I want to give you some things that are going to help you with that. But first, what I want you to know is that when we ask people what they think, we make moments for people to feel valued. When we ask them what they think, we give them an opportunity to reveal their deepest needs to us without us making assumptions about those needs. And then also, when we ask people what they think, we are creating a moment for us to discover how we can lead them, not just assume how we can lead them. And we look at Jesus and we see that Jesus led with questions all the time. He asked, in Luke chapter 9, he asked his disciples, he says, "Who do people say I am? Who do you say I am?" And in doing this, he was revealing himself and even challenging his disciples. And Jesus clarified the relationships around him through his questions. He said, "Who is my mother and who are my brothers?" But Jesus also confronted demons with questions. In fact, he said, "What is your name?" to a demon. And so there's many reasons why that could have happened. But the bottom line is, even the master of the universe, like Jesus, led with questions. In fact, I can give you several other examples. Jesus involved his disciples in the plan and in the process through his questions. When he looked at them, Luke chapter 9, he says, "Where can we buy bread to feed all these people?" Well, Jesus knew what he was going to do, but he still asked the question. Sometimes as leaders, we may have the answers, but we need people to really come to that answer, not just tell them what they should do. And so questions help us lead people. But Jesus also identified the needs of others through his questions. Even when blind Bartimaeus came to him, he said, "What do you want?" Sometimes people sitting at a table or in a circle around us, they just need somebody in front of them to help draw their needs out of them. And that's what a good small group leader does, is they facilitate questions. They don't just lecture. And so I want to give you a few things to consider as you're learning how to be a good facilitator of conversations by asking questions. One thing is, never ask a question that you know is most likely going to embarrass somebody if they answer it. Another thing you might want to consider is, don't be so quick to move on from a question. Ask a question and then count to 10 inside. Don't sit there and say, "So how was your week this week?" 1, 2, 3, 4. No, okay, listen, count to yourself however you want to do it. Make people feel comfortable with your questions. Granted, good questions will also challenge us. And so it does take some skill that we want to encourage you to pray about. And maybe during your discussion times during training, maybe you could talk about what have you learned about asking questions that can help people feel comfortable and challenged at the same time. And so we hope that you will do that, and we hope that our leaders will continue to lead by being learners. And so in order to be a learner, we encourage you to lead by asking questions.